What is up, everybody? This is SNL Movie Chats, and we are your hosts, John Emery Singleton
and Joshua Lewis.
And today we are talking about episode 2 of the Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
streaming Fridays on Disney Plus. So let's just get right into it. Josh, start hitting me with them thoughts.
Off the bat, I love that it starts off. Once you get past the first 5-10 minutes or so, I love that it starts off with Bucky pulling up on Sam ASAP. We didn't have to wait no time for that.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad. I feel like I just have to start with there.
Since you're talking about those first 5 or 10 minutes, let's talk about the one thing everybody hates to hate. Discount Captain America. How do you feel about them trying to set him up a little bit and kind of give him that?
Alright, so I'm not gonna lie. You watched the last video. You know what I said. Hashtag discount cat in the comments. That being said, I do like the character as far as him as a person. He does have a really good track record for everything he's done, especially for the country, and I really appreciate that. And then even just, I think it was very surreal him being at his high school as well. I feel like for anybody who's been through high school and it's gone back, a completely different person almost, or a person that's gone through so many things, it is definitely kind of intense to be there and be taking on the title as Captain America at your old high school. And I do love the scene of his girlfriend walking in, or wife, walking in to talk to him. And it's cool that we kind of find out, as far as I assume, that they were like high school sweethearts. But then with that, and then followed by his best friend, I forgot his name, but I know he calls himself Battlestar. Yeah, that was funny. But I do like those moments. That was very down to earth, grounded, and very real. I like that.
I like it a lot, and I don't know. For me, he's a tough character to get behind, because I get what they were doing, and all kudos to the show. It was done well, but for me, it's just, you give us this dump of who he is, and I like it. And like you said, he's got a resume, so in theory, I get why the government chose him. But like I said in the last episode, I don't think that the Captain America mantle is something you just give out like it's a promotion. I don't think it works like that.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly.
So, kind of flowing into then him coming out on the field and starting this interview, I don't know, I just felt like, I get that things are significantly different in the MCU than they are in the comics and things like that, and there aren't secret identities and stuff, but this whole like press tour thing, I didn't something about it bothers me.
No, it's very reminiscent to me of The Boys, with how they market superheroes to the public, but more so just to really make a profit out of it. That's kind of the vibe I was getting in. The locker room scene aside, I kind of felt the same way. Yeah, it's exciting. You're getting announced as Captain America. For you, that's cool. But for me watching, even if I was in the MCU, I wouldn't really get behind that, just because I just have my own opinions on just that in a whole. But he was just definitely very showy. It felt, like you're not putting on a show. That's not what this is. Captain America would never do that. And I get you're not Captain America. You shouldn't try to be, because you can never be. But you also don't have to be a government dog trying to put on a show for anybody.
Yeah, and I feel like when he was in the locker room, I felt like he wasn't going to do that. But then when he got out there, it was like, oh, I'm putting on a show for the people. And it's just like, just be you. And I feel like he tried to bleed that into the end of the interview, but I just didn't. By that time, I was already... Look, the train has already left the station for me, as far as I'm concerned. And just kind of the him throughout the entire episode kind of almost sold that for me. One of those situations being him joining the fight with Sam and Bucky, which was cool because we saw little hints of that in the trailers, but they never showed us that he joined the fight with them. And that fight, like we spoke about earlier, him like saving his friend with the shield, which even though for some reason it pisses me off seeing him using the shield the right way, that was pretty awesome.
No,
the way he saved his friend.
Yeah, I agree. It was he's nice with the shield. He's nice with the shield. And that fight scene was cool. I wasn't expecting him to come down. I wasn't expecting either of them to come down and help out Sam or Bucky at all. But segueing back a little bit, back to the intro with Bucky pulling up on Sam. Like you said, he pulled up pissed.
Yeah.
Gave away his best friend's shield to the government and saw what they did. It's just kind of like, I wholeheartedly agree with Bucky almost throughout this whole episode. Honestly, for me. How'd you feel about that first conversation?
I love almost every conversation that they have has this beautiful blend of being comical and serious at the same time, even with this conversation, because when it starts, he pulls up and he is not happy. But I like that he does this thing of, I'm not happy, but then Sam tells him, he's like, of course I didn't think that they were going to do that. Do you really like... And then they kind of switch to the comical thing where he's like, oh, this isn't right, this isn't what Steve wanted. And he kind of just says, what do you want me to do, call America back and tell him I changed my mind? So I think that's nice.
Yeah, I'm glad to see their banter from Civil War didn't go anywhere. It's still there. If anything, it's tenfold now. And we're just kind of, and I do like that. We didn't get a lot of that with the movies, but we're seeing, it's almost as if they spent more time together to even be able to have more interactions like that. Because they seem really just comfortable around each other, like just doing things like that, you know?
Yeah, it's almost like they kind of make us aware that even if we didn't see it, they've spent more time than what we've seen together, whether it be like just travel time between scenes and movies where they're together, things like that. They make it aware that they know each other. That's a thing. Like they know each other.
And
you good.
Going on from that, just them, because I believe from that scene they go, Bucky asks him about the job that he's running, or Sam just mentions it to him, and I love that Bucky is almost like, even though he probably shouldn't be getting into anything, it's almost like that part of him can't help but ask about it, and then just like, nah, I'm gonna tag along with you, because Sam wasn't even trying to have him come. So I love that he's like, yeah, I don't listen to you, so like, you know, you're not my, you know what I mean?
That perfectly segues.
That was kind of cool.
Into that Bucky swagger. I was telling somebody earlier, it's just, he doesn't have to be so cool, but he just is. And that scene where they're in the helicopter and after Sam jumps out and he's like, I don't need a parachute, he just looks at his arm and he rips off the sleeve, and I'm just like,
that was cool.
Come on, why are you so cool?
I love the new arm. Thank you, Wakanda. I love it.
Really, I think that was like a neat little like, yeah, we can do this, but damn, if that still didn't hurt like hell when he hit the ground.
And I always wonder about that too. Like, I get you're a super soldier and everything, but I wonder how that impact or that damage feels like being a super soldier and just taking that.
Yeah, like does it hurt, but you just heal fast enough where you don't have to really worry about it? I think that's interesting.
And then getting into, because after they drop, they get into a building where they're tracking the flag smashers at. Even the interactions there where Sam wants to do a little more covert, but Bucky's like, no, they're right there, let's just go for them, let's just go, you know, like, he's so almost gung-ho to get into action, but I feel like he's the last person that should be. That being said, I encourage it wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I think one of the coolest things about this episode comes from that scene, and that's when they're talking, and Sam makes the comment about, oh, a little time in Wakanda, and now you're the White Panther.
Oh,
and he just says, it's actually
the White Wolf. Get it right.
They don't say nothing about that. They don't.
He's like, what?
Yeah, that's great. I think that's one of those little, we didn't forget about that kind of thing.
And it was cool too, because even after Sam pointed out, like, oh, just wait, there's still more people coming. And then once he got the read on all the people and they were leaving, I love, again, that Bucky, the Winter Soldier, is just like, all right, we're gonna go after them? Nah, I'm going after them. And it just starts bucking, and that's Sam just has to get into go mode and just flies after him. Like,
sometimes
that's so
I forget
cool.
how
Such a
fast
cool
he is.
Bro, he was running so fast. I was like, is this the Flash of the Winter Soldier?
Yeah,
I couldn't tell you.
Crazy.
Oh man, that was a great scene.
And then it leads into another, nothing too crazy, but another good action scene.
Oh yeah.
Nothing like the first episode, obviously, because the first episode actually was like, whoa. So, but this one was nice. It was like a little like, yeah, you know, we're still doing that action thing going on, and then we get our asses kicked. You know, everybody kind of gets going, and then the interaction between Sam and Buck, and then Sam Buck, and then John and Battlestar.
Yeah,
I guess we can call him since we don't know his name. Is it's very interesting, and I love how they are driving past them and they go to stop to let them in. They just keep on walking.
We don't want to ride from you guys.
We don't know you, bro. We don't. How hashtag not my cap, all right? Down in the comments, hashtag not my cap.
So guys, but yeah, and even with the fighting scene, it was cool to see them fighting on top of the semi trucks. That was cool. And yeah, I mean, even with Discount Cap, he is nice with the shield. I have to give it to him. We've seen Cap do a lot of crazy stuff with it, because that's Cap. He's saucy like that. But to see this guy who's practically new to this type of scene, I do have to give it to him there. He is nice with the shield.
I think that they give this, like, he gives off that vibe of not everything is like right. He's not Star Spangled Awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I get that vibe, and it furthers when we go further down to, like, after Sam gets arrested and how he got out of jail, and just the way he approached the situation, kind of like we talked about. Like, the doctor comes in and, you know, she's like, oh no, it's him. Oh, who allowed him to be off, like, this type stuff? And instead of just saying, like, oh, I gave the order, he does this very douchey, like, me thing.
Oh yeah, we will definitely get into that. I do not like that scene after the. Well, actually, let's go back a little bit to the conversation with them in the car. I feel like that was also another thing that he just wasn't delivering the lines that you were, to the people he was speaking to. He wasn't saying the right things, because those two people are very interconnected with Cap, Steve Rogers' life. So the fact that you're talking the way you're talking, I feel like he wasn't as sympathetic as he was trying to come off. And like you said, I feel like it was more douchey and direct instead of sympathetic and, you know, understanding. I think that's where he should have gone with the second direction, not the first one.
I think something like you said to me earlier, he basically just put Sam in, he was just like, oh, you're just a sidekick. Like,
that's very disrespectful. It's almost like, do you not know who you're talking to? Like, Sam Wilson has definitely seen his fair share of battles pre-Captain America, and then after that he's dealt with Avengers and aliens and wizards and crazy stuff. So it's just like, the fact that you just called him Cap's sidekick.
Yeah,
like,
I think that was like
biggest disrespect. I was like, yeah, I would have gotten out the car. I would have gotten out the car when Bucky got out the car. But yeah, Sam was definitely in the right for doing that, because I didn't like that at all.
From there we kind of moved to what I would say is probably the strongest selection of scenes in the episode, and that's going to meet Isaiah.
Oh yeah, what a surprise.
Yeah, I think one, it was very surprising for them to introduce the character, but also it's just they kind of play on this a lot, and I feel like it's very subtle until this particular moment, just because of the chain of events. They meet Isaiah, which, if you guys don't know, he's a African-American soldier from the 50s who was tested on and was essentially the only survivor, and they kind of used him, and after basically using him, he was thrown in jail.
Tragic.
Because, well, if any time wasn't ready, it was the 50s, in the way that, you know, minorities were looked at in that way, and oh, we don't need African-American Captain America or a super soldier hero who's not of white descent. Which is just, well, part of my language was fucked up. So, and they kind of play on that so beautifully well in this scene where their conversation happens and the way he's talking about it, and then he just ushers them out. Which, speaking of that scene, I don't know if you know, but if they are playing the same cards, I was unaware that his son or grandson is Patriot from the Young Avengers, so that might be who that kid is.
I did not know that.
Maybe, no? You know how Kevin Feige is.
No, that'd be cool. But yeah, piggybacking off of meeting Isaiah, it definitely set the tone of just how tragic his life was, that he got locked up for, you know, for what he got locked. Well, they didn't get into that, but
yeah, they don't specify.
Him being a super soldier around the time that he was definitely it was just tough to hear. But then starting off with that, and then just getting with them going outside, and the whole scene between Sam, Bucky, and the cops that pull up. When I was watching this, I was kind of taken away. I was like, wait, is this really happening right now? Like, these cops just come out of nowhere, and it's just like, the first thing they do is just pull up on this African American man and this white Caucasian man just standing together having a conversation, and automatically they're like quick to just be like, "Sir, are you okay?"
Yeah.
Speaking to Bucky, almost as if like Sam had done anything wrong to him. They were just having a conversation. So like, what warrants you to just pull over and like kind of be on your guard about two men just talking? I mean, I was very taken off by that.
The thing that like almost like sets me off in that moment more, you know, just obviously I can't relate, but you know, in that moment it's just when his partner tells him that they're Avengers, he's like, "Oh my God, I didn't notice you without your goggles." In my head, I'm just like, so now it's a problem because he's famous and you know who he is.
Yeah, and even with Sam's answers back to him, it's definitely, you know, anybody would have felt like that. Like, why are you asking for my ID?
Yeah.
You pulled up on us for no reason. Like, we're just having a conversation. Like, you know, and then even like to what you said, once he realized who he was, and then had the dumbest thing to say, "Oh, I didn't realize you without your goggles." So what does that mean? Every black person looks the same without some type of thing to, you know, have us stand out to the other person. Like, that's such a slap in the face that I couldn't believe I was watching right now. It was crazy.
I mean, it was also like very well written and warranted because, you know, the MCU has always done a very good job of addressing the topics of real life in a way that makes sense in their continuity in their world. So I think that was very well done.
Yeah, and again, kind of like what I said with the last video, I appreciate that they're taking those things, 'cause those are real life things that's happened. Like, I mean, and it's gotten a lot worse. We've all seen it before, you know, we can't really hide from it. It's there. So I love that with the first episode, it was really very subtle. Like, they almost didn't touch on that. And then with the second one, it's like they really brought to the forefront how that's a real issue and it can happen almost anywhere. I mean, and on top of that, why were the cops even around the neighborhood to begin with? Like, they literally just kind of pull up at almost as soon as they come out.
And backup pulls up on them.
Yeah, and it's just crazy.
Now, to kind of like pivot / end that particular scene, it was kind of funny how after that happens, they go back to the car for a second, and the way they come back to Bucky was like a, "Hey, so we kind of got a warrant out for your arrest. Like, is it okay if we arrest you? Because you could definitely kick our ass right now if you wanted to."
Yeah, I definitely got that vibe, but again, going back to the, you know, race thing, I definitely feel like that's also something I again, with my emotions, you know, in check, I do appreciate it, because again, these are real things and they're bringing that to the forefront and they're not scared to not show that these things are very much an issue. That being said, it was just crazy that he almost approached him so calm and very just, "Hey, we kind of like almost as if they didn't want to do it, but it's like, hey, we have to." And I got the feeling like they did that because he was a Winter Soldier, but I also got that feeling of he did that because he wasn't African American.
Yeah, I feel like the vibe would be way different if it was like Sam who had the warrant out for his arrest.
Yeah, because I mean, you saw it. They were almost about ready to arrest him for nothing.
He was ready to draw, so you know how they are, quick on the trigger. So,
but with that, they arrest Bucky, take him in, and Sam rushes over to, you know, try to get him out, do what he can, and then we're surprised to see that he already got bailed out by
Discount Cap. Hashtag not my cap.
And not only is he there, but Bucky's therapist is there as well, and that gets us into a great scene that they have inside of one of the interrogation rooms.
Fantastic. The way that they set, again, another one of those beautiful moments where the conversation is both comical and very serious. And in that moment, you're making my hair stand. In that moment, you find out really why Bucky is so upset with him giving away the shield, because he thinks that if he's giving up the shield, then Steve was wrong about him, and if Steve was wrong about Sam, then he could be wrong about Bucky. And Bucky is worried that he can never be more than just a killer, which doesn't help when they're talking to Isaiah and he says, "I don't do that anymore," and Isaiah just looks at him and says, "You think you can just wake up one day and decide to not be who you are?"
Yeah.
So I think that scene was very intense for the right reasons, and I love how also in that scene they didn't just end it as like, boom, our problems with one another are solved. It was like, it seems as though they're still not on the same page. Because like Sam said, like, can you at least agree that what I was doing, I thought I was doing for the right reasons? And it feels like Bucky can't even get with that. He's like, it almost feels like I don't know if I can agree to that kind of thing.
Yeah, because I feel like Bucky really got to a very real place with kind of how, you know, with the therapist being there and everything. He got to a real place with Sam, and kind of on Sam's end, I feel like though we were getting some real emotions, we didn't get the Bucky level of emotions that I think Bucky was trying to get out of him, or at least just the answers he was trying to get. I think Sam was still kind of holding back, and with that, as far as right now, and again, we're gonna definitely get some more into Sam with the rest of the show, I'm assuming, but at least in that moment, I definitely feel where Bucky's coming from, because it's really like Bucky's been through a lot. Like, a whole lot.
Yeah. And I think that's like one of those MCU subtle themes, is when you really break it down, a lot of the heroes we follow are still making hero choices, even though they've been through the blender when it comes to emotional trauma.
Yeah, and it's just also with that, and almost like kind of like how you said, and he doesn't know if what Cap thought about him, he doesn't think about himself, and I feel like that's a real issue with, you know, a lot of people. You know, people have expectations for you, or just put you on a pedestal, and it's almost tough to try and be the image that people see, you know, in you. So that was very real, and I really connected with Bucky in that moment. And same with Sam. Even though I don't agree with the whole Shield thing, Sam definitely has a weight on his shoulders too. The whole Cap not being around, and having almost being announced Cap from Captain America, but not wanting to take the title. I hope we get a little bit more to him. I hope he kind of starts to open up a little bit more. He probably needs to see the therapist, because she's a really good therapist. She definitely has some unorthodox way of doing things, but it gets to the point.
I think something too, to kind of like finish off that whole like beautiful thing they're doing with the whole racial inequality aspects, is Sam does it so perfectly in a line where he just looks at him and says, I know you and Steve will never understand that about me, but at least can you say that what I did it because I thought it was right. And I love that. It's like that. You won't understand every reason as to why I gave up the shield, because you're white and I'm not.
Yeah, exactly. I feel the same exact way. It was saying it without saying it. And I was kind of reading between the lines, because it's true. And again, real life, we've seen a lot of instances where one person does one thing, someone else could have done something else, but the consequences for both of those people are drastically different. So in Sam's case, yeah, and again, it's sad to say, but he's probably thinking there's not a lot of people that would get behind African American Captain America. You know what I mean?
It's just shitty.
And I mean, also to that, not saying race or anything came into that, but I mean, look who they picked for the next Captain America.
I absolutely think that race played a part. There is no way that they were not thinking of putting a white guy behind that shield, because that's what the majority of America would be comfortable with. So
it's right there, guys.
Government, am I right? Government, am I right? So
gotta stay woke.
Gotta stay woke. And moving on from that, we get another scene with John Walker and Battlestar Guy talking to Mackie and Stan outside, and I like this conversation a little bit better, because it feels, while yeah, we don't agree and we don't see the same thing, like we kind of get that we need to work with you. So I like the way that they approach it, but also justify like why they can't work together. Like, you have too many, hoops you have to jump through. We're free agents. We kind of just. But John Walker does sprinkle that douchiness still, or again, into the scene, and you kind of just get more of that vibe of, why are you trying to be Captain America? Like, hashtag not my cap.
Yeah, it was kind of like tolerable until he just said that, "Oh, stay out of my way" line. It just didn't sit right with me. And honestly, if he really wanted to try something, man, Sam and Bucky that's light work. They take care of that. They'll take care of them real quick.
Look, the name like that, if it makes you stop the Jeep and get out, it's how you know you're gonna get your ass whipped, alright? So
But moving on from that, you got any predictions for next week's episode?
I think that we, get our Zemo discussion. Super excited to see him back.
Oh yeah, I can't wait for Zemo.
That first conversation goes. I think that's going to be, oh man, I think that's just a good point of just diving back into the villain pool of people you haven't killed. Stop killing your villains, all right? I think we get Sharon, possibly maybe end scene coming in, or we get her entrance, the whole 9. I also think that whatever the Flag Smashers are setting up to do, that's going to change everything, as Carly said. We get by the end of the episode, or at least some setup, we'll know specifically what will happen or what they're trying to do. And then I want to say I think that's it. Besides, I also think that they probably get the shield too.
Yeah, I'm curious to know how they get the shield back. And going back to Zemo, I honestly think that he has to be connected in some way, shape, or form with the Flag Smashers. Whether he's working with them, whether he's a part of some other organization that
just knows what's going on.
Yeah, so I'm real interested to see the conversation between him, Bucky, and Sam, because maybe that might shed some light on it. Also, I really like the fact that Bucky was the one to kind of be the one to have the plan to go talk to him. Also think that was kind of cool too.
Yeah.
So can't wait for that conversation. Hopefully we get Sharon.
Yeah. No, you're good.
Hopefully we see her soon. Because we only have 4 more episodes left of the.
I keep forgetting we only have 6 episodes. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's not a lot. So hopefully we see her soon. Ready to dive into the Flag Smashers some more as well. Get into their plans, see what's going on with that. And then some more Torres. I really liked him. He wasn't in this episode a lot, but what he was in, I always like to see that again.
Yeah, they're doing a good job of building him as a side character that maybe we need to know more about, but they're kind of playing it safe because he's just a character.
Yeah.
So my final question would be, episode 2 of the Falcon and Winter Soldier, are you taking it or are you leaving it?
Oh, I'm definitely taking it. Definitely continuing the season. The first episode was a real smash, and this one was just a good second episode, good continuation.
I agree. I think I'm taking it all the way. I'm watching it again. If you've already seen it, watch it again. Watch it a 3rd time. Be there Friday nights, Friday mornings, whenever you want it. Be there. That's how much I'm taking it. And with that, we'll end the chat there. Thank you to everyone watching. And if you like being a part of the chat, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button. Make sure you've got that notification bell ringing for next week's episode of SNL Movie Chats. Until next time, you can follow me at JohnEmery97 on Instagram and Twitter.
And you can follow me at Joshy5K on Twitter and Instagram.
Make sure you support your local movie theater and or streaming service of choice. And as always, until next time, thanks for chatting.